So here's the y-axis that we're looking at, and there's several things that we're dealing with. One is this oiler axis here, and we can't mount too far back. We have to stay forward of that. The other thing is the clearance of my, you can see how my compound swivels. I have to stay low enough to where I don't interfere with the scale so that I can continue to swivel the compound. And if that was mounted in a conventional fashion, you can see it would hit. Or I'd have to go forward of that by about that much, and that presents another problem because the further this gets away from the cross slide, the less room that my tailstock has to nest up in between this saddle here. And I don't want to lose too much of that because that's going to force me to extend my tailstock out too far to reach my workpiece. So we saw a couple videos where people have laid these on the side, and that helps a little bit, and that allows me to keep the scale back as close to the cross slide as possible. I need a little bit of space in here because I need some room for some bracketry to hold this. The scale is going to be stationary on the cross slide, and the reed head will be mounted stationary on the this portion of the saddle. I have seen some videos where people have mounted this all the way forward to where the reed head hangs down on the back side of the saddle. That's an option. And then if we, and that would be like so. Or I can nestle this way up in here, which I kind of like that a little better, and let my reader set above the saddle, mounted with some kind of a bracket. Then we would have to come off the cross slide with another bracket to mount the scale on. So there's a couple different things to consider. I think we can rule out mounting the scale in the upright position because there's just no way we're going to be able to keep it low enough. Well, I guess we could. I guess actually we could. Well, not really, because it hits my handle. Or at least I wouldn't have enough room for to put my fingers back there to turn the hand wheel. I think we're stuck with laying the scale on its side. And the scale will be mounted on the cross slide, and it'll move back and forth with the cross slide. The reed head will be mounted stationary on the saddle here. I guess you could call it the carriage. And I will have to bracket off the back side of the carriage, and then with the scale I'll have to bracket off somehow off of the cross slide here. And because of the brackets, it will have to be lifted somewhat. But I do have, it appears, about 1/4 of an inch that I could lift that if it's mounted on its side. So I think that's going to be our plan. I think right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the scale just about in this position. Now, because the open, you might say, slot here that the reader slides back and forth in because it's on its side, it is prone to getting debris in, but it is on the back side of the working business end here, so as long as we're not going wild with the air hose, that shouldn't be that big an issue, and we will come up with some sort of guarding to protect that, to semi-protect that. And so I think that's the plan. So now I will leave you guys right here for a few minutes until I figure out what I can do for bracketry on this thing. But that's just about the way this thing is going to set. And I think that'll do okay. All right. Catch you in a few minutes. And here's the final plan. I'll mount the scale on its side. I'll elevate it about 1/4 of an inch off the top of my carriage. I'll have 2 brackets mounted onto the cross slide here and here. This bracket will be cantilevered slightly so I can get out far enough to get to this hole, and the reed out, or the reed head, will mount to the carriage here, and it will utilize 2 holes that are already in here, and it will also be, well, it'll be carried about 3/16 of an inch above the carriage leg here, and that'll give me about 1/8 of an inch clearance for my compound to swing by here. And we'll get that part done, and then we'll figure out what we have to do with guarding. But that's the plan, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on the bracketry. Now then, I have the scale mounted, and all I did was make 2 simple little L-shaped brackets, and I was able to use 1 pre-existing hole in my cross slide. I drilled 1 new hole on this end for the bracket. And see, the brackets are, one is right here and one is right here. Now I have to mount the reed head, and I've made 1 special bracket that's shaped like so, and I have to put the holes in here, and that'll mount on my carriage, and that'll go like so. And I was lucky enough to find 2 pre-existing holes for that bracket to bolt onto. All I have to do is drill and tap a couple of what are they, 4 by 0.75 metrics in that, and then we'll have the reed head on it, and we'll be able to plug it in and try it out. Looks like the worst part of this is going to be able, check. It looks like the worst part of this is coming up with some kind of a guard that's going to protect this thing, particularly since it's side mounted the way it is. The slider here is totally exposed to the back side. So, okay, I'll get this mounted up, and then we'll go from there. Now we've got the Y-axis scale mounted, and the reed head here, and now you can see where that little T-bracket goes that I made up, and that's fastened down. Everything's pretty rigid here. It kind of straddles the back side of my carriage. I think that'll be alright. Now, I haven't actually turned it on, so we'll do that right now. I have lined this up so it's good and square, and this is I used this little clip they gave us to line it up, so now we don't need this anymore. And I'm going to put you back on the tripod here, and we'll turn this baby on and see what we get. Alright, let's turn this baby on. First of all, the brain box will turn on. Turn on so you can see it a little bit. This is an odd thing. My readout on my mill, my DRO doesn't do that, but this one kind of runs through a calibration when you turn it on. I don't understand why. So it looks like I got zeros. So on my carriage, my x-axis, that seems to work pretty good. Now here's the y, the one I just did. Yeah, that's working too. At least the numbers are running up and down. We need to check the calibration on this to make sure it's reading properly. You can adjust them. I had to on my mill, and but I won't do that on this film. I'm going to call this good. I do need to make the guards yet, and it looks like that's going to be the toughest part of the whole thing. And so maybe when I go through the calibration, I'll show you what I did for the guards. So meanwhile, this is functional, but it is unprotected. I did lose about 1.5 inches here where my tailstock slides up between the carriage legs here. But that's just one of the sacrifices that you have to make on a deal like this. So this is the way I did it, and every brand lathe is a little bit different, so you'll have to maybe come up with something a little alternative, a little different bracketry, a little different mounting location. But this is the way I did it, and I'm really looking forward to using this now. So, okay, till next time guys, this is Mike, thanking you for watching the video here and sticking with me, and we'll see you on the next one. Adios.